The best health coaches work in their zone of genius. How do you discover your zone of genius? Often it is personal and is something that you work to become the world's leading expert in. And our next guest has done exactly that. The data on reversing Alzheimer's is stunning, and she is at the forefront of this mission, of her mission. And I can't wait for you to hear the amazing Catherine Moore and how she has helped people improve their memory who are suffering with brain health. We're going to learn a lot, but also you'll see how you can alchemize that pain and some of the hardest parts that you've had to endure in your life to create an incredible, soul satisfying, purposeful business. So, with that, we're going to dive in. You're going to learn a lot that you never knew you didn't know. Please welcome Catherine.
Hi, Dr. Shaunna. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So take us back to what were you doing before you became a health coach? Give us a little bit of your professional background and kind of what led you to do the work that you're doing now.
Yeah, so I became an occupational therapist, but sort of late in life. It was my second career, but something that I had a real passion for, and I really loved. I worked in skilled nursing. I worked in home health. I eventually started my own outpatient mobile practice, which allowed me to continue working even more closely with people in their homes, but sort of under with my terms, which I really enjoyed. And during that time, I became very frustrated finding that patient after patient after patient, they all had the same conditions.
Mhm.
So many had diabetes. They had, just several comorbidities that go along with diabetes. This was all leading to cognitive decline. And it was just a common theme across everyone. Didn't matter what I was seeing them for. I did specialize in stroke, and also I worked with families closely on dementia care, worked with their
Mhm.
families and their caregivers, just teaching them how to manage the symptoms and behaviors and things like this. So as time went on, I was getting more and more frustrated with the fact that this was happening to so many people.
Mhm.
And also at the same time, I was learning more and more about nutrition. I'd had a brain injury myself
Mhm.
several years before, and so brain health had become sort of an obsession of mine, if you will. I was spending
Yeah.
all of my time researching what I could do to improve this. I had difficulty I ended up having insulin resistance myself at one time, but was able to overcome it without medications. And I really had to do a lot of um, really deep work that no one could help me with, not my functional neurologist, not my doctor, anyone else. So I was learning a lot on my own. And I was just finding myself wanting to share more and more of this information with all of my patients I was seeing,
Yeah.
whether it was stroke or the families with dementia, because I knew this was a concern of theirs, of what was going to happen to
Mhm.
them
Mhm.
down the road. And so I just found myself spending more and more time teaching people about nutrition, teaching people about exercise, and focusing on brain health. So it just really just naturally started to become a focus of mine. Um, a couple of years ago, I was in a position. I ended up really working myself just to the bone. Just I was working around the clock. I
Yeah.
started to really slack on my own personal care.
Mhm.
I was working too much. I was on call. I was doing, multiple jobs. I was loving the work that I was doing, but it was also incredibly emotionally taxing on me. Um, and I ended up having a really terrible setback with my own cognition. So I have a family history of Alzheimer's. My mother has Alzheimer's. She's the fourth child in the eight children in her family who have developed it. And so I do have one copy of the APOE4 gene. And I knew this from the time of my brain injury because I'd gotten tested for all of these things so we could figure out exactly what we were dealing with to do the best that we could to get me back on track. So 2 years ago, I found myself completely incapacitated. I was unable to work. I had to take family leave I was leaving the stove on in my house. I was getting lost while I was driving. I didn't remember people's names in my family. It goes on and on. I had to hold on with, I lost my balance. I had aphasia, word finding, very significant symptoms. And it just brought my life to a standstill. So at this point, I knew that there were things that could be done, and I really started digging in, looking into more of what my specific factors were. And I just started taking action. And so 1 year later, so at that time, that I had to just completely kind of stop and get off the bus of life,
Hmm.
basically was told by a doctor that I needed to start to think about who was going to take care of me. And this was at 51 years old.
Hmm.
So I had taken what's called a CNS Vitals cognitive exam, which is a very sensitive cognitive test that looks at several different domains of your cognition. I had scored at the fourth percentile in my age group, meaning that is the very
Yeah.
bottom. And in executive functioning. So how am I organizing, able to take care of myself during the day? Fourth percentile. 1 year later, after implementing all of the strategies that I learned about, um, I tested at the 88th percentile 1 year later. And that is above average for my age group. And now I was at 52. So here I am. And so I just realized as I started to come back to work and was able to work more and more, I said, this is what I need to do. I need to help people to do this. There couldn't be anything more important. I've done it for myself. I know I can support people through this process. I know how hard it is. I know
Hmm.
how devastating it is.
Hmm.
And I know lots and lots of the tricks. I
Yeah.
just understand.
Yeah.
There's so many aspects to this. It's a very complex problem. And I just realized, so I was taking some coursework through a program called Apollo Health. And this is the company that I am affiliated with. They're out of California. I was taking some coursework with them because I wanted to have a little bit more solid footing. I know what I had done to achieve it,
Hmm.
but I wanted to get a little more of the specifics and the data under my belt to share with people as I set out to bring this into my practice and get some more formal training.
Yeah.
So I did this, and I learned about Dale Bredesen's program through Apollo Health, and I said, this is absolutely what I've got to do. At the same time that I was thinking about this and trying to figure out how to do it, um, I've been off of Facebook for years and years and jumped back on because I realized I also needed connectivity was a big part of what I needed in my life. I had been very isolated just with my head down and working for years. I hopped back onto Facebook, and within a month, Dr. Shaunna popped up on my Facebook feed. And I said, this is it. I know this was meant to be, and she's here to help me and support me through all of the structure and the processes that I knew I was going to need. So
Yeah.
thank you, Dr. Shaunna, for being
Uh,
here.
I love your story. It is so powerful. You literally approached your brain health like your life depended on it because
It
it
did.
does.
It
Yeah, it
did.
did, right? And the thing I always say with health coaches when they're looking for a niche, I'm like, nobody's really interested in prevention. And I said, with two exceptions. One is if you have the breast cancer gene, and all the sisters and mothers and aunts have breast cancer, then you're keenly aware. And then the other is Alzheimer's, because you can't wait until you get it to figure out how to get out of it. And so you are an example, except for usually, and most people out there still to this day think, oh, like I won the unlucky lottery here. And my lot in life, there's nothing that I can do. And everybody just says, oh, isn't that too bad? Oh, that's so awful to hear about you. And like, that's it. That is it. And I'm going to say, I bet you for 98% of people who are diagnosed with Alzheimer's, that's what happens. Like, we're going to hope for the best and we're going to just try to manage it as best we can with as many band-aids as we can until it's over.
Right.
And when you came across our desk and you shared your story, I mean, like, we do these virtual retreats and I'm like, you had data for percentile and you showed all of the data and on all of these measurements and then 88th percentile and I'm like, whoa. I'm like,
Right.
and you're doing some stuff. I'm like, I don't know, there's like hyperbaric oxygen, like sometimes you got this and that and this and there's a light thing here and there's this and like she knows some stuff that I don't know. And you are more of an expert in this than I ever was or will be or hope to be, quite frankly. And it is needed. In fact, just last night I was talking to my mom, who I'm lucky and blessed enough at 87. She's got all she was talking about, she was looking for like, I have to get out. I have to get out this week and it's really cold. And man, because she knows it's important to connect with people. And she goes, but like, I don't want to do that, neighbor, because I did her last week and I don't want to be a pain. And so she's like looking for this. And she goes, but like, there's not all that many people who have all their marbles. And she's like, maybe I could phone Louise. She's still got her marbles. And like, cause I'm like, well, what about this person? No. What about this person? No. And like, we can't connect with them because they don't even know who we are. And so like, well, and it's frustrating because there is less and less of people that people have. And she was telling me just yesterday, she was talking to her sister and my uncle's a doctor and he knows of these three doctors who were worked in the same clinic and just recently within the last month they're now retired, but all three of them were just diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And I'm like, and it's devastating. I'm like, what's that about? What's that about? And so like it's very interesting and it's prevalent. Everybody listening to this video or podcast, you know somebody who's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. You do. And sometimes it's very close to you, or it's an aunt, or it's a parent, or it's potentially you. And then when you have your parents who have it, you have the gene that has it, and then you have two head injuries. Oh my gosh, you're trying to fight this with two arms behind your back. But the thing is, when it's harder and you really want it, when failure is not an option, like you're too young to have you have family that depend on you, you have a livelihood to like, I cannot do this, then it's amazing what you can come up with. And that is exactly what you did. That's exactly what I did with my health coaching practice. So, like, I had to do this or my family would starve. I probably would not still be here on this planet had I stayed with my medical career that was extremely toxic, very yeah, burnt out is an understatement, but was anybody getting healthier? And I should have quit 15 years before I did. But because I had to do that hard journey, like you had to do that hard journey, now we can gift back to people and they don't need to do all the errors of our trials. We can, if it's a maze that we're going through from this problem to like this dream come true, we've already bashed our head against all the dead end walls of that entire maze.
Yes.
And if we put a little line on the ground of the tape of all the way through that maze and just say, just follow the tape, people wonder, I don't even know what the problem was. I don't know why everybody was fussing about it. This is easy. And that's what I do for you guys, and that's what you do for them. And it's so, we're going to let you guys know how you can get in touch with her in a moment. Share just so I want to go in two directions here. And I think I want them to hear some of the success stories of what you've been able to do with your clients, because that's what this is really all about. Um, and then um, and then I want to kind of bring you back to your practice, where you were before you came and like, because if we don't have a structure to help these people, we don't actually get to help these people. But tell us a little bit about some of these, we have these weekly wins because it's important to focus on the positive, and you were sharing just I think it was yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, a couple of client wins, like major client wins of where they were before. Tell us where they were before, what win they had after. And it's just like to be a part of that. That's what I call about a soul satisfying practice, to be able to do that work. So just share a couple of that because when we get to the root cause, like all these things get better. So just share a couple of examples like that.
Absolutely, I'd love to. So, yes, the most recent success that I had was just this week, and I'm so just I feel so blessed to get to share this. A client I've been working with for a little over 3 months. I'm working with her to reverse her Alzheimer's symptoms. She's experienced a somewhat of a steep decline over the last year. She had become more and more isolated in her life. And this was not one of the things that she shared with me when we began working together. So so it was even an even better surprise to hear this
Yeah.
week when she came to me and said, I just want to let you know that I feel so great. I know that things are working and we're still just at the beginning of this, but I have been able this week to engage more socially with people, and I have not been afraid to accept invitations for social meetings. My husband and I haven't had people over to the house in more than 9 months because I have been so lacking in confidence and feeling so much anxiety over any social interactions,
Mhm.
because I knew I couldn't keep up with the conversation. I couldn't understand what people were telling me. I needed a lot more time. And now I feel confident to engage in these social situations again. So that is just huge. That is what we are doing here. And it was just so wonderful to hear it.
Yeah.
And even at such an early stage in our time together. So this person has been very completely bought in and engaged in this process, though, and that's
Y-
something that is most important
Yeah.
about this. It's a complex problem, and it's not an easy answer, but she's been putting her best foot forward all along, and following things along, and through her support, and it's working for her. So it's
Yeah.
just beautiful. Another story I want to share, and this is just one of those stories where you think it's about something, and then it really turns out to be about even more than that. It kind of
Mhm.
spreads outside of this person's,
Yeah.
spills out of their health and into another, not unlike this story, but I'm working with one couple, and he's working on prevention. So he's someone that knew he had a gene. He also knew he had a head injury. And it was wonderful that I got to connect with him. His wife and he have been just a joy to work with. They come as a team together during our sessions, which is beautiful because I know he's getting the support that he needs. But one of the things that they've been really making a lot of changes with his nutrition, lifestyle. It's all part of it. But alcohol was a part of their life, and maybe her a little bit more than him. Well, they have a 25th anniversary trip coming up that they were planning to take with another couple. And he has been feeling so well, and also having some great some making some great progress with his own cognition and word finding, even though he doesn't have a diagnosis, but he just notices things. He's 69 years old. So he says to me, this is really working great for me without the alcohol. Now I understand how everything is connected and the importance of this, and what the neurotoxins are doing to me over a long period of time, even if it's just a drink on the weekend. So we had talked earlier about maybe how this was a big problem for him to
Mhm.
be in social settings now with some of his, friend group. And we talked about him possibly maybe just putting that fear aside and thinking about just being the model and letting the chips fall where they may. And last week, he and his wife, couple of weeks ago, they told me they were not going to go on the trip with the couple for the entire trip because the couple just drank all the time, and they just didn't want to be a part of that, and they didn't know how to step out of that. And so they wanted to cut the trip short with the couple. Well, they came back last week and said they've been spending so much time with the couple and not drinking
Mhm.
that the other couple has now said to them, listen, we want to let you guys know that we've made some changes after watching you. And we really feel like, we know this is going to be hard, but we're really excited about that month-long trip we're taking with you, and that we're really trying to cut back on the drinking too. And we want to do this together with you. So now everybody was happy. Everybody was feeling good about going on the trip again with their oldest and dearest friends. And it was just a beautiful thing. So it's going to be a good time for them. Everybody's just feeling a lot better about the situation. So
Yeah, and we make choices, and then we have the consequences of those choices. But
right.
when we know better, we can do better. And even and so that's really powerful. So like it's like, thinking outside the box and making, I mean, people get to make their choices. And it's not like there's like this is right and this is wrong, but it's like, well, what do I really want and what really feels good? And it's stringing enough days together doing living a certain way. And then when you notice the mental clarity, when you notice the energy, when you notice that your knees and back are not aching, when you notice your sleep is better, then sometimes you're like, I kind of want to keep feeling like that. It's like, so we just, you can weigh that out. And I think it's really good to be intentional and observe and then make the decisions about, is it worth it? Is it not? How can that be? And especially when it's not like it's just a one evening thing, like in the case of this couple, it's not like one dinner out or something. It's a month long trip. And especially if the way that they have fun traditionally, uh it is all, it's mainly about the alcohol and
And the eating too,
and
just
the
that,
eating.
eating
Yeah,
whatever we want. Yeah, right.
yeah,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah. And so and it can really add up, and especially for people who are, say, retired, right? Like that's kind of what you do, is eat and drink
Right.
then afterwards if you're not at work, right? Because you can, and so it's really yeah, it's really helpful to see, like, looking at that and then looking at that, the results of those choices. That first woman about the being able to invite people over after months of not, and you can feel like, you can see how people would feel uneasy. And yes, of course, if you have someone going through Alzheimer's, like my mom has friends and family going through Alzheimer's, of course, she's going to show up and she's going to support them and sit by them and be with them and love on them. But if we're wanting to, like, also, increase our own connection, it goes twofold. Like, that person doesn't want to invite people over because they're like, it's just going to be anxiety provoking, because what if I forget, or what if I make a big blunder, or what,
Right.
and likewise, and it becomes uncomfortable. And so to be able to have that confidence is huge, because then it starts to get, the better it gets, the better it gets, the better it gets.
That's
The,
right.
the more energy, the more memory, the more confidence, the more fun, the more joy, the better the memory, and so on and so on and so on. And so it's really about turning the tide around, like shifting it around from where we were just going into a decline, which is where, when people get the diagnosis, generally is like, all right, this is the start of the end. And it doesn't, and you are here as a shining light example of, it does not need to be that way anymore. Before, when we didn't know, that was the truth, but that is no longer the truth. And because of the work that you've done through yourself and with other people, as more and more and more people start to reverse it, if it's not possible for anything to happen, then why are we even going to bother? But now more and more we're seeing people reverse diabetes. I've had a client who got out of her MS wheelchair. I've had people reverse all sorts of things that are not supposed to be reversible. Martita, one of our other, six-figure health coaches, who was like paralyzed for a year and a half. She's walking, talking, an amazing, beautiful woman who's leading yoga retreats.
So lovely.
Once, if we just kind of focus on what we can do, man. But if we don't think anything can change anything, or if we're not willing to change anything, well, yeah, then nothing changes. And so I think it's so powerful, that the work that you've done. So now let's take us back to, so now you've been able to help people with this. So first you helped yourself because your life depended on it. Now you've been able to help other people and growing and growing and growing and increased demand. You're getting to the point where, like we were just talking about, okay, I've kind of hit my limit. Like I can only take this many people. And I said, get ready because there's going to be a lot more, but I can only take this many people. And we look at, okay, how do we structure this so that we can serve them and because we can't stress out ourselves and preserve our own well being, because that is important. Because if we sacrifice that, nothing helps. And so the ability now to take what you know and that desire to make it easier for yourself, and if you're a health coach, that's what you want. Like you've overcome something or helped somebody else do that, and you want more than anything to help someone else. And there are people, so you have this desire, there's these people who are like sometimes literally dying for your help. And for the most part, these people are not finding each other. And that's where I come in, because I'm like, I'm on a mission to help this world be a healthier, happier place, and connecting people that are brilliant like you. Like, I don't want to have to go through all what you had to do to get to your area of expertise. But since you did that, how can we connect you with the people that you're meant to serve? And so that's where I come in with the systems and structure to help you get your practices up and running so you can serve that community, shine your light, and so on. When you came to us at the Health Professional Academy, you mentioned how you hadn't been on Facebook and then you popped in and then there it was. When the teacher is ready, or when the student's ready, the teacher appears, and so on, as the saying goes. What were you looking for? So what were your, like, what were you wanting to help with? What were you struggling with when you came to us?
So when I came to you, I was just at the beginning. I just had really realized what it was that I was supposed to be doing. And all of these ideas were just really starting to percolate about how I was going to be able to do this. Simultaneously, I was also learning that the universe, God, was really preparing me to move from where I was living. So this is something that I had great awareness of. And so I had another dilemma at the same time. How am I going to find the people that I can help? And how am I going to move myself to a place where I know I have community where I need to be and be supported in my life? How can I do both of these things? That was a really big how. How can this happen?
Yeah.
So because I had been in practice before and I also had a second practice, I had been through the ringer. I have been through the processes. I had my business for 6 years, but I didn't have this business model. This was a completely different business model. I knew nothing about doing anything virtually. How on earth is this going to work? Before I had orthopedics and PTs and NPs sending me patients, in my practice. But that wasn't going to work like this. So I had no idea where to start. I was really at square one, but I knew all these new things had been happening with technology and marketing, but it was way beyond me. Not to mention, I don't really want anything to do with learning about these things. I
Yes.
just know I need them.
Yes.
So I started to, by the way, I was in a nutrition program. So I also got certified as a holistic nutritionist during this, on this
Yeah.
route. But she was sort of giving us some direction on, okay, you're going to have some sort of, social media presence, and you're going to have some sort of funnel, and I was seeing to keep up with responding to people in emails and follows up. I don't even know what to call it, really. I didn't know what it was even called.
Yes.
It seemed far too complicated for me, but I was writing down the prices of everything that I was looking for and just scratching my head going, I've got to collect all of these pieces, and then I'm still going to have to teach myself how to use them and
Yes.
and the right way.
Yes.
So this was really overwhelming to me. And it was at this very point this week that I was organizing myself and making a list of all of the things that I was going to need to learn how to figure out how to do and buy. And here comes Dr. Shaunna. So I knew I read her books first and quickly, like in one day. And I said, I need to work with this woman. I need to work with this woman. And I know that's why she came across my Facebook feed. So I called right away and it was great. It's the best decision I have ever made in my business or for myself personally,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
So,
I
yeah.
mean, it's just been it's always mutual beneficial. And I always trust the process. And and I teach you guys to say, I ask that my divine, and you can fill in the blank with what that is for you, your higher self, your God, whoever, be here with me now so that I may think, speak, and act from a place of love. I ask that love is the guiding force that guides me to the ideal clients. Please place those I'm meant to serve in front of me, and may I see them clearly, and may we connect for the most joyful experience. And then I detach from outcome. And then I know that we're going to have a great time, whether there's an invite, because we're by invite only, and we have way more people wanting in than we have spots for, that I can. And that's why I do different videos and Instagram and books, and try to help as many people as I can. But the logistics, because we guarantee results, there's only a certain amount of people that we can, work closely with at a time, so that we can make sure that, it's not about just getting a whole bunch of people in. It's like having you like get like a real business and practice up and running, and really make a difference, and really have those transformations that feel so good. And then everybody wins. And so, yeah, it's such a joy. And then the value add, like what I realized over the last year or two, is like, because we handpicked the diamonds, like this community is stellar. Like it's brilliant. There's people like you that are just like amazing. And so I'm like, at our quarterly virtual retreats, teach us, show us what you're doing with the brain health. And so then everybody, so somebody might be helping with Crohn's, or they might be helping with menopause or whatever. And you can, I mean, you shared so brilliantly your story, and some of the things that people can do to help themselves or their clients with their brain health. That was, here's some easy things, here's some, next level things. And that was hugely helpful. And that I saw, like, we did that as a medical doctor at 25 years. We would have rounds, and I'd learn from the vascular surgeon, and the, orthopedic, and the, internal medicine, the gastroenterologist. And we would share our brains with each other, and we all got better. And so I brought that philosophy into the Health Professional Academy. What's been your favorite part? Oh, by the way, guys, I'm going to put a link to a free copy of Six Figure Health Coach in here. So if you're like, I want to structure this, how do I do that? And we can probably put a link to the other book. These are the books that Catherine read before popping in, but that's helpful to give you an idea of, where should you focus. But what have you liked best about this whole journey so far? What have you been your favorite parts?
The professional growth has been enormous, but the personal growth has just blown my mind. I am 53 years old. I've had success with the business. I've raised children. I've done all these things that I feel like I can feel good about in life. But you don't know what you don't know.
Hmm.
And so I learned so much about myself,
Hmm.
and I learned how to overcome a lot of things. I'm still working on a lot of these things,
Yeah.
but I'm learning how to get out of my own way,
Yeah.
in order to do what I want most, which is to help other
Yeah.
people with this problem that they are having. And
Yeah.
so that's been tremendous. I could not be helping people if I would not have experienced the personal growth that I have been and continue to. And I'm in my first year with Dr. Shaunna and her fantastic group. So I'm just excited about where things are going. I'm more excited about knowing that I am going to be able to reach more and more people.
Yeah, you're just getting started, and it's so fantastic and already making a difference. And I always say, like, you want to work in your zone of genius, you bring the heart, and then it's like, it's not like something that you even need to retire from. And what we're trying to do here is, most of the time when people have a job, or build a business or a career, when they get really successful, there's a sacrifice. So as their money goes up and their success goes up, they have to sacrifice their health, or they have to sacrifice their relationships or something. Like something's got to give, or their well-being, their time, their freedom. And so, what I want to do, and what we're trying to do here at the Health Professional Academy, especially because so many of our clients who are health coaches have health challenges themselves. That's what led them to be here. We can't afford them to sacrifice their health. It's just like not cool. So we want to build it rather than like just let's see how fast somebody can make a bunch of money. Like that's not what we're doing here. We're looking at how do we build a legacy. So we have to get it ignited, then we're going to scale it, and then we're going to build a legacy so that as things get better, as your business gets more successful, your health gets better, your relationships get better, like your business gets better, everything gets better. But you have to build it right from the root cause first. The roots have to be much like when you're helping people with their health. It's not just about slapping a band-aid quick fix solution on it. We want to build the foundation so that it's scalable, and you can scale it to as much or as little as you want. You're in the driver's seat, and you get to determine what that looks like for you. We have people with all sorts of, from a lot of people just like to hover around the $100,000 range. Like that's good for them. That's the right mix. Where they're working maybe 3 days a week, and it just feels really nice to have that level of impact. And people who have 500,000 and even a seven-figure coach, but not at the never at the expense of your health or your family or any of those things. And so it comes down to that right design, and that is one of the things that's core. So when you start small and then you grow big, so you want to just make sure that you got all the puzzle pieces and that it's really helpful if somebody gives you the picture on the box and you make sure that you've got all the pieces, that you're not missing any pieces, and that you're not throwing in some pieces from someone else's puzzle.
I'd like to add one thing. Dr. Shaunna, speaking about protecting our own health and sort of protecting our energy. I say that a lot. I want to know how to do this while I'm able to protect my energy because it's important. But speaking of energy, the group of health coaches that I get to experience life with weekly, do you want to talk about raising your energy and raising your vibe and just what a terrific, incredible group of people, women and men here.
Mhm.
And it's a pleasure and it's an honor to get to interact with all of these people. And it truly is empowering and inspiring. So that's another huge bonus.
And it's like you become the five people you surround yourself with. And so if you're in a community where you're serving and coming from integrity and shining your light and leading with love, and everybody's doing it, and then people are successful and they're talking about their clients' success stories, and we get to share our clients' success stories, it's like, that's how we roll. Like that's what we do. That's what this new normal is. And sometimes people are like, this starving artist type of thing, and that's it. And so people, if the fastest way to $1 million is to hang out with people who are earning $1 million, the fastest way to become an athlete is to hang out with a bunch of athletes. The fastest way to become a drunk is hang out with a bunch of people who are drunks. And so like if you're in a group of people that are successful health coaches, it's like it's real. Like you can see it's not like I don't think anybody's doing this. Like, no, there's like every week, like there's people who are actually doing it. And you're like, okay, so I know that it's possible because it's obvious it's possible because you're seeing it done. Even though the majority of people out there as health coaches are not earning anything, in our little bubble, they are. And so yeah, I think that's tremendous. And you'll want to build that for your own communities. As a health coach, you'll start to build your own communities of people that you're supporting with their health. And then when you help somebody, reverse Alzheimer's, improve their memory, shift from fourth percentile to 88th percentile, and you get a bunch of them, that's just how you roll. And like people out there might be in that cognitive decline, but in here, we're going to do things. And then that inspires people that are in that community are like, okay, I'm going to do this because it's worth it and it matters. And if it's not worth it and it doesn't matter, that's fine. But for those people that are like, yeah, I want in, well, then you're going to have a really great time. So yeah, it's a really, really great point. You do tremendous work. I know you are in hot demand, and rightfully so. I know that I have friends and family and following that desperately need your help. So here we go. How can people get in touch with you? And you are so generous with your time. I know you'll even hop on a quick call with them and just kind of, if you can't take them in, you can at least point them in the right direction, give them some tools and tips and really great stuff. I know that there's some things that they can get, some actual tools that are really helpful. But you take it on a case by case basis because it depends. Everybody's different. There's all sorts of causes of dementia, etc. How can they get in touch with you, Catherine?
That's right. So I'm happy to hop on a call with anyone for 20, 30 minutes, and you can reach me by my website. You can book a call there at tandemcareandwellness.com. There's a little informational video about some of the things that I have done, and I'd love to hear from you or your family members.
Awesome. So tandemcareandwellness.com. Check her out there. Oh, one other aside. How much has social media been a practice, been a part of your building your business? Because you mentioned like people were saying you needed to do all these things on social media. Like, are you having to post 5 times a day and do the
I don't do
reels? And
social media at all. I made 2 posts on social media when I first started. It was sort of part of this process, which I appreciated, and which resulted in great growth for me. I had to get in front of a camera and make some videos. I was absolutely horrified about doing that, and now here I am having a conversation on video, and I'm perfectly fine with it now. So
yeah,
lots of growth, but no, I'm not using social media at all.
because normally we will send people there. So if you're a health coach and you're like, I don't really want to do all of those things that people are saying to do, and look at this, she's helped people tremendously. And Connie's one of my favorite examples of someone who's a six-figure health coach, tremendous difference, really helping people profoundly. And no social media account even. And so social media can be helpful. A lot of our clients do have social media, and it is a way to let get your voice out there. So a lot of people use it a little bit. Uh, but first things first, and first you have to know who you're helping and what are you helping them with and have a process for that. And as I say, I've been doing this so long, I've been doing it since before there was social media. And what at the root cause of it, those principles, that's what's important. And maybe it's social media, but maybe it's not. And so if you've been afraid to do health coaching because I think I have to I need to be an expert in social media. You don't. And so have a check at this video here that I've put to Connie's story about how she created her six-figure practice without social media, in case that appeals to you. And definitely check out Catherine. If you know of anyone who would like to improve their cognitive ability, no matter where they're at, and for whatever reason, definitely going to be worth your time to connect with her. So thank you so much, Catherine, for all the work that you do in this world.
Thank you, Dr. Shaunna.
Be good for you.